Welcome to the Next Chapter Experience podcast with Jeanette Blissett. Thought leaders explore the mindset, wellness, and wealth needed to realize next level transformation. Let's get started. Welcome to the Next Chapter Experience. I'm your host, Jeanette Blissett, and today's guest is John Follis. John is a successful advertising executive, entrepreneur, and writer who has made significant contributions to the advertising and marketing industry. John is a former Madison Avenue advertising executive who has had a successful career in the advertising industry. He spent the first 7 years of his career getting fired from various agencies. However, that actually inspired him to co-found his own advertising agency, which became one of the most awarded agencies in the country. John, welcome to the Next Chapter Experience.
Thanks, Jeanette. Thanks for having me on.
You're a man of many talents. Okay, you've written some books and you've headed these advertising agencies. What's the biggest lesson you've learned along the way?
That you have to make a decision on what you want and not let any setbacks deter you from achieving your goal. And it may mean that you've got to recalibrate how you try to reach that goal or pivot to reach that goal. But there's more than one way to get to where you want to be. And sometimes you don't realize that until you hit a setback and then have to reevaluate what happened and maybe take a different path toward achieving that goal. But you need to be focused on what you want to do and be open to being redirected, I would say.
I know this is a while ago. What did you learn about yourself back then?
That I really did have talent. The first 8 years of my career, I was in the corporate world and I kept getting fired. I got fired 4 times in the first 8 years of my career. And I was on the creative side of advertising as both started out as an art director, but also evolved into an art director and writer. So creative was my thing, but when you work at an agency and you get fired and you get fired and you get fired and you get fired, you have to question whether or not you really have the talent that you think you have. I didn't realize, or I guess I should say, it wasn't confirmed that I was as talented as I thought I was until I was forced to take a different path, as I mentioned earlier, and pivot away from the corporate world and get involved on an entrepreneurial path that my talent that I thought I had was appreciated. So it was through these various, initially freelancing and then finding a business partner who had a vested interest in seeing my work get produced because we were partners. And so he had a motivation to help sell the work. And in advertising, that's an important component of being successful. When you do creative work, sometimes there's some selling involved to making sure that the clients go with it, especially if it's a little bit edgy. A lot of the work that I did was edgy and scared them a little bit to put some money behind it. The fact that I had a partner who was a very good salesperson helped me get that work produced. And it turned out that the creative work that I helped create and produce our clients turned out to be very successful for them as clients and for us as an ad agency. And that's when I realized, being in that entrepreneurial role, that I did have the talent that I always deep down believed I had.
You've worked with some major corporations over the years. And have you kept those contacts?
I worked with some major ad agencies that had major corporations as clients.
Okay.
So when I was in the corporate world, I didn't work directly with those. We worked with the marketing directors for companies like Pizza Hut and Kraft and Volkswagen and things like that. Because at that time, Jeanette, I was young in my career, I didn't have a lot of direct client contact. I would be working for my creative director because I was in a junior role, and occasionally they would allow me to sit in a meeting with the client. But it really wasn't until I started my own agency and started freelancing that I dealt directly with clients. But those clients in that situation were not in national clients. They were more a regional or local clients.
So with the work that you're doing now, why do you do the work that you're doing?
Now I'm not working. I'm talking to people like you. which I really enjoy doing. I haven't really had to work for the past 6 or 7 years. So I've been able to do whatever I want. One of the things I love doing is being on podcasts like yours, because when you work in an industry as long as I have and have had as many different experiences, first working in the corporate world and then freelancing and then co-founding my own ad agency that became super successful, and podcasting, and then starting a video business. I've had many entrepreneurial experiences. Then I can come on podcasts like yours that are focused on entrepreneurship or business or overcoming career challenges and sharing my stories, which I love doing. So that's what I'm doing now, as well as some other more personal projects that we could talk about if you want, but that's what I'm doing now.
So, what message would you say to entrepreneurs to learn or know based on your personal experience in terms of where they are and maybe what their vision is and how they could possibly make it realize some of the things they want to do?
I would say just learn as much as you can about it. There's no better teacher than experience. You will learn just by trying to do it yourself, and you're always going to have challenges and make mistakes. Certain mistakes are unavoidable, but having said that, you want to avoid making as many mistakes as possible. So any way that you could gain insight into entrepreneurship in general, or the particular niche of entrepreneurship that you're going into, is something you should try to do. And there's so many ways now to learn about entrepreneurship and specific niches of entrepreneurship through podcasts like yours. That's certainly one way to do it, but there's tons of videos on the subject. It's never been easier now to learn about whatever it is you want to learn about, simply because there's so much free content out there.
Mhm.
And some of the free content may not answer all the questions you need to know. Sometimes you may have to pay something if you want to learn something that requires a certain expertise. People aren't necessarily going to give their expertise away for free, but you could learn a lot just by listening to podcasts like guests from yours or other podcasts that deal with entrepreneurship. So I would just learn as much as you can while you're doing it. If you're in a situation where you have to generate income, sometimes you have to move forward, even though you may not have all the answers. While you have to find clients as quickly as possible, something that's going to generate income. So don't allow the fact that you don't have all the answers stop you from doing what you need to do. But while you're doing it, just continue to learn as much as you can. And for many small business owners and medium-sized business owners, marketing is one of their biggest challenges, because anyone can have a business. But then the question is, how do you get people excited learning about what your business is and excited about hiring you? And that's where marketing expertise is really important.
I wanted to ask you a question because that wasn't going to be my follow-up question. Because as a business owner, one of the challenges that I had as an entrepreneur was creating awareness and creating excitement, or actually attracting individuals to my business. And I know that most small businesses, medium or large, maybe not so much large, but small to medium, are faced with the challenge because it feels like they're a speck of sand on the beach. There's a hell of a lot of sand. So when you're in business, there's a heck of a lot of competition. So how do you stand out? How do you create perhaps a marketing plan that will enable you to stake your claim and create more awareness of what you offer? How do you do that?
You touched on what you need to do, which a lot of first-time business owners don't realize, and that is you do have to create a business plan, and then you have to create a marketing plan. And those are related but different. Your marketing plan is a subset of your business plan. That's the first thing. You create a business plan, and then we could have this whole podcast interview be focused on what's involved in a marketing plan. Google, how do you create a marketing plan? Go on YouTube. You'll find 100 videos on people telling you how to create a marketing plan. I could tell you in 30 seconds, the short version is you got to, first of all, decide who your target market is. You're perfect. You can't be talking to everyone. The more focused your audience is, the better you can figure out how to interface with, connect with them and get them excited. So who your target audience is and your marketing plan comes out of what your business is, what it is you're selling, right? Once you know who your target is, then you have to figure out what pond do they swim in? What are they looking at? Are these people on TikTok? Are they on Instagram? What are they doing? Where do they live? Are you talking about, are they local? Are they all over the country? What are you selling? Do you have a retail clothing store in Stamford, Connecticut? Or are you a business coach that can coach people around the world? Totally different audiences, right? So whether they're geographic specifics, there's demographics, there's sociographic things. What are they thinking? What are their personalities? All that stuff you got to figure out. And then you could begin to figure out what media is best to reach them. Once you know what the media, then what is the message? What is the message that's going to excite them? It's not enough just to inform someone. Labels on soup cans inform people. You've got to get them excited about you. And what makes you different from the other gazillion? If you're a podcaster talking about how to grow your business, what makes your podcast on growing your business different from 47,000 other podcasts on that same subject?
Absolutely. And a lot of times you are the differentiator. As an individual, depending on how you connect with your audience, you are the differentiator. I appreciate where you're coming from on that. And I find it very interesting because I know a lot of entrepreneurs who are out there trying to make it happen are perplexed sometimes as to how they can create enough of a groundswell. Some are doing it very well, and some are obviously learning the tricks of the trade. So as we talk about next chapter, you're obviously having a fabulous time in yours. I'm having a fabulous time in mine, and we're creating a space for those who are thinking about what's next. So in your preparation for this chapter of your life, you talked about basically enjoying life, not actually having to work, but serving others based on the experience that you offer. With that said, how actively do you get involved, or do you get involved at all? Say somebody reaches out to you on LinkedIn. Are you open for that, or how do you handle those kinds of contacts?
You mentioned something, serving others. And one of the things that I had included in my bio is the fact that I've been very involved in public service throughout my career. I actually was invited to the White House as a result of a very successful national TV campaign that dealt with child abuse awareness and prevention. And I was shocked when shortly after the campaign ran on national TV for several months that I got an invitation from the White House to be one of a couple of dozen people from around the country who were involved in various public service efforts. So I was one of a group of people, but it was quite an honor, to say the least, to be acknowledged for that at the White House. And then about 3 or 4 months after that happened, I got another letter, this time from the United Nations, informing me that one of my public service ads had won a first ever United Nations Public Service Award.
Wow.
So fortunately, I was working and living in New York at the time. So the United Nations, who invited me to receive the award, was only about 20 blocks up the street. So it didn't involve airfare to receive the award. And I had the honor of going to the UN and getting that award. That's not why I do it. It was just nice, unexpected acknowledgments of that. But it's throughout my career. And even now, I've probably worked on 3 dozen public service or cause-related marketing things. And right now, one of the things I really enjoy doing, I started doing about 5 months ago, is tutoring Ukrainians via Zoom in English. I discovered a program called Engine, and it helps match tutors, just basically anyone who speaks English and is willing to offer their time, to Ukrainians who are in Ukraine, and connect with them via Zoom and just help them with their English. And I love it. I started out with 2 students and now I'm up to 6. do that on a weekly basis.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that because I recently met a gentleman from the Ukraine originally, and he's been in the States. I think he lives in Oregon now. But yeah, that's tremendous work. That's value work that you're doing.
So
Yeah.
I've always tried to make time to get involved in various things. For a while, I was involved in an anti-bully campaign where I made some anti-bullying videos and tried to get those on TV. It's a challenge because if you don't have any money, it doesn't matter how good the TV spot is. It's very difficult. There are a lot of public service organizations who are trying to get their message on TV. So unless you really have the connections at these stations, it's not easy to get those messages out to the public, but I tried to get them out through YouTube and things like that. It's not quite the same as being on regular TV programming, but the point is, over the years, I've just worked on all kinds of nonprofit causes that I find personally interesting and just really enjoy it. I think I enjoy the tutoring Ukrainians as much as they benefit from me helping them with English. I've really enjoyed getting to know these people as people. The English is not great, but I still am able to communicate with them and learn a little bit about their situation. I feel like I've made friends.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I appreciate you making time for me in the Next Chapter Experience podcast. I greatly appreciate your time and also your experience and wisdom. So I'm sure that our audience would love to be able to contact you through your website and other social media platforms. So I will include that information in the show notes so that folks can keep up with you. And perhaps in some of the work that you're doing, if you need to have an outreach, people that are interested might also want to tag on to see if they can support the cause that you're involved in.
I'll give a shout out to the Ukrainian organization because they are always looking for more tutors, more volunteers. So if any of your listeners find that interesting, since I mentioned that, it's called Engine. It's spelled ENGIN dot, I think it's .com. It could be .org, but I think it's .com. So ENGIN as in Nancy. If you do, I think it's called Engine Program, engineprogram.com. Pop that into Google and it should come up, and they would welcome you as a volunteer if you're interested.
Is there anything else that you would like to leave our viewers and listeners with relative to what you're about to get involved in or things that you're looking forward to that you would like them to know?
That's the most important thing right now that I'm involved with from a volunteer standpoint. But if they'd like to learn more, I've done a lot of video stuff and I made a documentary. If anyone is interested in looking at some of the creative content that I've done that has won awards and some more stuff recently, if you pop my name into YouTube, you'll see a lot of my video work. And if you pop my name into Google, you'll see everything else.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate the time.
My pleasure, Jeanette. Thanks for having me.